Hey everybody! In today's video, I'm going to show you how to quilt with your gel press prints and my very favorite supply lately, these stitched cover plates. So I used the Gel Press Petites, the basic shapes, and I used the circle. And in part one, you can see how I made these actual prints that I am now cutting out with my adorable little Bitty Buzz die cutting machine that folds up. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. I can hardly stand it. Very tiny footprint. I am using a Hero Arts Infinity die, which is slightly larger than the plate that I'm using to go through this machine. Don't worry about it. This is a circle. It's an easy shape. But what I love about this machine is there is actually a little bit of room on either side of the plate. So if you wanted to do partial die cutting on purpose, or if you just need a little bit extra room on your paper, you have that with this machine. So it's kind of neat. It's not exactly the size of the plates. But anyway, it gave me the flexibility to pick the perfect die for the size of the Gel Press Petite plate, which I love. Now, these were made with alcohol ink and they're very vibrant. I only used 3 different colors of ink here to create these, but you can see all the beautiful mixing that you get. And I'm going to cut out 3 of these. I have 6, I think, from the original, maybe 12 from the original printing video. But I think I can get away with 3. And when I have a really beautiful gel press print, I tend to be a little bit frugal about how I use it. And so if I can get away with just using 3 of them and I can save 3 of them for later, then I'm going to be a happy camper. So I will remove this from the die and just trim off that little extra bit that was sticking out past my plates. So I love this little machine. So much fun. So now I have this gorgeous rainbow stitch die that is so much fun. I think I have another video with this. It's really fun. But it's going to quilt together all the little pieces of these gel press prints that I'm going to put on the front of a card panel. So this is just a card panel. It's not my card base. That's important because you want to let these quilted pieces hang off just a little bit as you're doing your composition. You want to make sure you have the maximum amount of print sticking into the card panel, but you also need the ability to trim off the edges before we quilt it. So you can see that you will have a couple little extra pieces left over. You can always use those in your art journal for a little pop of interest, etc. But we are making a birthday card. So this is going to be a very festive birthday card. I chose the Gel Press Petite prints because I felt like they gave it that balloon feel, and I had set out to do a birthday card. So that worked out well. You could also take these Gel Press Petites and of course treat them like balloons and draw a little string. So I will trim these off, these little tiny pieces. You could fit them back into this sort of collage piece that I'm doing, but I don't feel like that's necessary. On this one, I wanted to preserve the balloon look, and I have the perfect die cut sentiment to fit sort of in the white space that is left from these circles that I am putting all over the card. So here I will trim off this very last one. You will get a little bit of glue on your scissors doing this, but it's really no big deal. So they clean up really, really easily. Rubbing alcohol is your friend when it comes to cleaning up glue. So make sure that you take advantage of that. So here I'm just putting the last little extra piece. Like I said, I'm being very frugal and conserving every little bit of the printed piece that I can. So here's this beautiful die. What is so cool about this die, so you've seen me use the Daisy one. I have just fallen in love with these so much. What's cool about this one is it's a really tight pattern on this little cover plate. And what that means is I'm going to get the maximum quilting texture for putting these pieces back into the background. It sort of pushes them into the paper and gives you that overall texture that you would get if you were actually quilting a piece of fabric, which is a look that I just love. There are a lot of different ways to do paper quilting, but I have to say these stitch cover dies are probably my favorite. So look at all that detail and look how it just pushes those pieces to where they become sort of seamless on the card panel, just like it would happen if you were quilting in real life. Very interesting design. I think it's so much fun, and I could just like run my hands over that little texture forever. Really fun. So now we will get the sentiments ready. This is just another one of my pre-cut pieces of white cardstock, and I have this amazing birthday set, and you can see I've used, this is kind of a well-loved set. You can't have too many birthday stamps, right? But the great thing about this one is every single sentiment in this stamp set has a die. Every single one, not just the big birthday one. So all of the little like subtitle sort of greetings that go with the large birthday sentiment, they can all be cut out. So you have complete control over where that goes on your card. I accidentally bought 2 of these. We're not going to talk about that right now. I am going to give one of them away on my YouTube channel. So I'll stamp this a couple of times in my mini MISTI until it's nice and black. And then I will go ahead and add the second sentiment, which is wishes. But there are tons, as you can see in this stamp set, that you can pair with this little birthday. But I am going to put them far enough apart so that I can run them both through my die cutting machine at the same time and die cut both of these. But I love that it lets you offset a greeting, split your greeting up into 2 different parts of the card. And especially on this card where I have such a colorful quilted background, the white border that I'm going to get around the sentiment is really going to make it stand out from what really is a pretty busy background for this card. So I had a little bit of adhesive sticking my dies to my little envelope there, so I had to remedy that. And the outline of every die is printed on the die sheet, which I love. So it's very easy to find out where they go back to. So I'll just line these little guys up. Make sure you put enough tape on there. And that can be a little bit tricky. And I'm going to trim them down just so that they go through my little tiny die cutting machine so that you can be here for the die cutting process. So when I die cut on these little machines, I also do the same method that I do on my large die cutting machines. The thicker plate in this case is going to be my base plate, and then I will only ever cut into the thinner plate. So I leave the die with the flat side down, cutting surface up, and cut into that thinner plate. That means that the die is always completely flat on that bottom plate, and you're going to get so much more precise die cutting if you do that consistently every single time. So I will crank these little fellas through there and go about finishing up this little card. So now, see what I mean about putting them back on the die sheet? You know exactly where they go. There's no more guessing. It's amazing. Now maybe one day they'll come out with dies on like a sticky mat. So not the tape, just like a sticky mat, like the sticky mats that you have for your MISTI. And then you just pop the dies back on there. Who knows? So now I will pop out the little pieces, but see what I mean about how that white outline really makes it stand out from the areas that have color on this card. I think that makes a huge difference. If I had just stamped this in black ink on top of these images prior to quilting with the cover plate, they would have gotten lost, I feel like, in that color. So that little white border is really important. And I love glue because it gives me wiggle room. And now that little white space looks like it was meant for this sentiment. It's so colorful and so fun. The texture is just amazing. Now this is just an A2 card base. Again, I get these pre-cut and scored. You can see those in the supplies below, and I'm just going to do white. Part of the reason for that is I had my sentiment overhang just a tiny bit on the edge. I like to do that when I'm using card panels. And then that way that white of the die cut just blends into the white of the card base. I tend to create in the same sizes and same orientations over and over again. I don't know if you do that, but I definitely have a happy place when it comes to that, and I use it over and over again. Now these magnets for my Glassboard are invaluable in helping me dry my cards as the glue is adhering. Make sure that they're flat, all of that. Oh, Splotchy. Splotchy helps me too. Look, he put his little foot on there. Thanks, Splotch. Thanks for getting that bottom bit that didn't have a magnet on it. Way to go, buddy. So here you can see all that beautiful quilted texture in the background, the lovely, lovely colors that are just 3 colors of alcohol ink. And here is the finished birthday card. So head over to my blog for more information, and thanks so much for watching.